We got a national analyst who is high on the Auburn Tigers.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Happy Charlie Tuesday to all who celebrate Auburn message board legend, the Charlie 5, hanging out with also known as, what's your real name? Kyle Rush over at the barn, auburn.com. Go check him out there. And of course, he's the host of the Top Button podcast. We'll talk about the schedule and how it impacts a lot of what we're going to talk about today, and as well as like, could this set up a trend? But yesterday, Andy Staples, one of the more respected national college football writers in the industry, I don't think I'm going out on a limb there, writes for On3, a national guy there, puts out his top 25. And Kyle, he was high on the Auburn Tigers.
Yeah.
I'm at what, 13? I'll pull it up here for the folks watching. Auburn at 13. The 13th team in college football, which if you told me that right now, that, hey, Auburn will finish in the top 13,
I'll take it.
I would take it in a heartbeat.
Don't even play the season. I'll take it.
It's like, you know what? Yeah, I'll take it. I'm not even going to risk it. And it's easy to see why, right? Like, I mean, it's kind of comforting because all the stuff that we're talking about internally, whether it's on the show or amongst the Auburn fan base, all these awesome recruiting classes, all these awesome transfer portal classes, the transfer portal addressing specific needs, and just overall, okay, maybe Jackson Arnold takes that next step and he's got the receiver. I mean, we all know the storylines. But you always kind of wonder, like, how much of that is internal and how much of that do people outside of the SEC or even outside of Auburn within the SEC pay attention to or care? Does it actually matter? This is nice. I think it's nice that people are paying attention at the national level to what Hugh Freeze has done.
Sure. If it was like just any other analyst, like from one of these recruiting sites or one of these sites, I would maybe tamper expectations. But Andy Staples worked for ESPN. Like he knows, in other words, he knows the people to call to ask about this poll. Like I doubt he just made this up on his own. Like Andy's the kind of guy that is going to do his research on every one of these teams, I would imagine.
Well, the interesting thing go ahead, Kyle. I'm sorry. I'll finish. I'll go.
I mean, and he bumped Auburn way up from where he had them preseason last year. So right. I think they were outside the top 20 in his preseason poll last year. So to see what you saw on the field this past season and then bump them higher.
Yeah.
I don't know. You could take from it whatever you wish, but I feel like it's a good thing.
The same poll at the same time a year ago, you pulled it up. You found it. He ranked Auburn 19th. Is that correct?
I think it was 21st.
21st. Okay.
Yeah.
21st. And so now to put them at 13, it's interesting though. I mean, you look at the first 8 teams that he had: Texas, Notre Dame, Clemson, Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama, Georgia. Okay. That's like, I think most people are going to have those 8
right there.
Yeah. Right. Now the order, I think, I don't agree with the order, but like whatever, like those are going into it. Those are the 8 teams that are most likely to make the postseason. And then after that, I do think it gets a little tricky. Like sure. Illinois
at number 9.
Illinois at 9, Florida at 10. Like I know there's a lot of love for DJ Lagway, and I think the roster is better than people are giving it credit for, but with their schedule, that's just hard to see being a thing. And then Texas Tech, I mean, they are the darlings of this transfer portal window. South Carolina, okay, Lenore Sellers has generated some excitement. South Carolina is definitely like the flavor of the offseason. And then it's Auburn. After that. And to me, I'm a little surprised by this.
Go back to the graphic one more time.
Just to be a little, just to be honest with you. Yes.
So
what do you want to point out?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you're 13th in the country, but 6th in the SEC.
Yeah.
It's just nuts. It never gets easier.
Yeah.
But you do. I mean, you got South Carolina that's got Lenore Sellers coming back.
Right.
You mentioned DJ Lagway. Like it seems like he weights quarterbacks pretty heavy, which is fair.
I
think.
Which is good.
So,
Sure.
But again, you went 5-7, and you started off in his preseason poll last year at 21st, and then you're starting off this year at 13th. I just think that goes to show you that, hey, the roster's getting a little bit better. People are starting to notice what you did in the offseason, what you've seen some of the freshmen and the sophomores come along. You've seen preseason draft mocks already for 2025 or 2026 with Keldrick Falk in the top 10, top 15 of picks. Yeah. So these guys are starting to get to where they're, in the mix for talking about the NFL draft. Like you have a talented roster, so it makes sense.
Yeah, we were going over the one he did last year, and I mean everybody was wrong about FSU. He had FSU high. A lot of people did. I think if we were to do one, we would have had FSU higher.
Oh, for sure.
Then they won what, like 2 games, 3 games. I mean, it was crazy. But a lot of what college football is like it's predictable at the top. It's just the order that you want to put them in. Like, who's that next wave? Who's the Arizona State this season? Who's the SMU? Who's some of these programs that, in the ACC that surprised some folks? Like, Miami had a shot late in the season, which wouldn't have been a huge surprise. But like, it got interesting towards the end. I think Louisville, halfway through the season, they were certainly an interesting team. But now, can you do that in the conference that we play in? Like, everybody talks about that with the storyline with the Big 12 and the ACC. And it's like, yeah, that's fun. But those leagues, like, if you want to call them top heavy, like, you got 1 or 2 elite teams or teams that are better than everybody else. That way in the ACC and the Big 12, it really just kind of felt like a free for all season. I don't think Auburn could, I don't think any team can do that in the SEC or the Big 10 because like it's still top heavy, but instead of like 2 teams you got to sneak up on, like you just said, Auburn's 13th in this poll and they're the 6th team in the SEC. It's just like it's a little bit of a different situation.
What am I missing on Illinois? What is it? What is there? What am I missing there?
I haven't looked into it. I assume it's quarterback.
I assume they had a huge portal class, but then I look and they were the 31st ranked portal class. I don't know what the deal is there. Like having them 9th. That's a pretty big.
That's a statement. That's a statement. Huge for statement. Sure. For sure.
Old Bert's must have it cooking over there.
Yeah, good for him. Good for him. I mean, the Big 10 has kind of proven that. Like Indiana's not on here. So is he predicting Illinois to be kind of the Indiana of what they did last year? Maybe so. I think in the Big 10, there's room for that. There's not room for that in the SEC.
No. And
so Auburn could finish 13th. And this was kind of circling around Twitter yesterday. And I saw people saying like, oh my goodness, you're 1 spot away from the playoff. And it's like, no, because 6 SEC teams aren't getting into the playoff. 5 aren't going to get in to the playoff. And so, the automatic qualifiers are going to kind of jump ahead of you, but it's still interesting. It still puts you in the conversation in November, which is really like what I think most Auburn fans are begging for. It's like, let's just play relevant games in November, please.
Let's don't shut her down like by the end of September. Like let's feel good going into November where, hey, if the cards fall right, hey, in November, you may have a shot to make a run for the playoffs. So I think that's really all any realistic Auburn fan is looking for as far as this whole rebuild and turnaround. I think you just want to be in the conversation at the end of the season. Like we don't want to go ahead and start talking about basketball, by what is it? What is the holiday in September? Is it Labor Day?
I think it's Labor Day.
Yeah, by Labor Day, you're like, man, all right, let's tip it off. Let's get to basketball season.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that's all. I'm just thinking back
to last November. I mean, we had this awesome mega win over Texas A&M, and it's like, all right, let's fight for bowl eligibility in the Iron Bowl. Let's do this. And it's like, no, we should be ahead of that.
Yeah,
we should be ahead of that. I don't want to fight for bowl eligibility or even get bowl eligible like that late in the season. The roster is better than that. The money. We're back. I got so passionate I unplugged and broke my mic. No, I'm joking.
It was not my internet.
No, it wasn't. It was definitely on my end. No, but there's just so many resources going into this. Like we should be better. We should be better than where we've been. And it certainly feels like, okay, it's like, wait, we're building. All right, we're built. Let's do this. Certainly feels that way. Seeing Auburn and Andy Staples poll at 13 makes me think he feels that way too, which is great because he shouldn't care. He shouldn't care. This should mean more from Andy Staples than it does from us, because he's on the outside looking in, weighing what every program's doing. We're just talking about Auburn. So I think that's awesome. Does this start something, or will he be on an island? Let's discuss that in just a second, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time.
Game Time.
There's nothing like the atmosphere of cheering on your favorite team in person, whether it's the NBA playoffs or Lindsey Crosby and I talked about it yesterday, going to Plainsman Park to watch Butch Thompson and the Tigers. No, nothing to add there. Nothing to add there.
I've been trying to think of something.
Nope, you're good. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, or redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. I don't know why I did that.
I have no idea either.
I don't know. I
loved it.
I'm sure you did. You were shocked.
I was shocked.
You were shocked. And I think there's going to be other writers who were shocked when Andy Staples put Auburn at 13. So I'm curious to see if there's a trend here for Nash, because whoever's first usually kind of there's not a whole lot of creativity with national polls. You certainly see that in season. Not a whole lot of people want to take risks. Not a whole lot of people want to put themselves on an island, because there's no downside to just playing it safe when national writers put out their top 25 polls. There's no downside to it. I think there is some downside of just being wrong, right? You could put FSU in the top 5 going into last season, and if they lose, it's oh, how did that happen? They were undefeated the year before. Nobody's going to care.
Yeah.
If you put an Auburn team who struggled for the last half decade in your top 15 and lose, people are going to remember that. People are going to remember that for sure. So I'm wondering now, is Andy Staples sticking his chest out and saying hey, I believe in this? And is anybody else going to match that? Are we going to see Auburn be a regularly ranked team in the top 25? Or is it just going to kind of be isolated pockets of folks who believe in what Hugh Freeze is doing? I'm genuinely curious.
It is fascinating to think about. And you kind of touched on it. There's really no motivation whatsoever. Andy Staples doesn't get anything out of over ranking Auburn.
Right.
That's
a risk.
Yeah. A huge risk. Because you had them at 20 last year. They go 5-7, and now you moved them up.
Yes.
I think he kind of puts himself out there. And I'm like you. A lot of these guys kind of sit around and wait and watch, and then they'll adjust their picks based off of others. There may be a pick or two that are out there, but for the most part, it's going to be the same list, just rearranged.
Yeah.
So I feel like I can't think, if I had time to really think, I could name some that specifically, but I feel like I've been hearing a lot of similar tunes though, that would reflect kind of what Andy is saying from different writers, from different personalities. Just the feeling that Auburn's kind of from the roster standpoint are as good as they've been, under Hugh Freeze and maybe in a while. So
yeah,
maybe that's starting to make these picks make a little bit more sense.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that too. JD Piquel of On3
talks right on the tip of my tongue.
A lot. Obviously, Jake Crane, who we both know for sure. One of us has even debated Jake Crane. But a lot of it is added with, the caveat of, but let's see what Jackson Arnold does. Everything has been set up, but let's see what Jackson Arnold does, which is the correct take, or at least the safest take, and probably the most accurate take with all of this. Because also, once again, you can always say, well, I thought Jackson Arnold would put it together. It's really easy if you're on the, from a national perspective, it's well, I thought Jackson Arnold would do it. I thought, we had Cam Coleman to throw to and Eric Singleton, and they got this new offensive line, and Hugh Freeze has had success with this type of quarterback in other places. It's easy to fall back to some extent, but to put them 13, Like not 22, not 24, like 13. Like that's one of the best football teams in the country.
I'm optimistic anything inside the top 25. You know what I mean? Like I'm feeling okay. Maybe there's a little bit of buzz going on here, but I'm with you. I mean, 13 in theory in a 12-team playoff, you're right there. Like you said earlier, you're right there at it. I will say this: if I think this may be the last year that the question is, can insert quarterback put it together? I think this is the last year that you're going to have that question. And I think if it doesn't happen, the questions are no longer going to be, can insert quarterback make it happen? It's going to be, can Hugh Freeze make it happen? It's going to move away from the quarterback, because I think you're going to have some serious either evaluation questions or development questions. Serious. You may even start looking at the offense. I think this is probably the last year that you can say, insert the quarterback and say, if the quarterback puts it together, then we're going to have a good year. I think this is probably the last year you have to lean on that.
That's super interesting, because now I'm trying to go down the train of thought of, okay, like what's a situation where a year from now we can still have a quarterback question? And like, I like if Jackson Arnold is so great that he goes pro, the questions will be around Deuce Knight, but
Sure.
it would be a different question. It would be, can Deuce Knight do what Jackson Arnold did?
Exactly.
And then,
can he replicate?
Yeah. And then like what I think is the most realistic point of view, and there's a lot of people that disagree with me, but Jackson Arnold's okay. He's fine, solid.
Yeah.
And then Auburn says, hey, Deuce is our guy moving forward. Deuce can't wait another year, which a lot of people disagree with me on that. But I still think Deuce is Auburn's starter a year from now, for whatever reason happens. And so then the question still is different, though. Like, can Deuce Knight achieve blank? I don't know if the question is still put it all together.
Yeah.
Is all right, they're putting everything on Deuce Knight. I think that's the narrative instead of, can they put it together?
So you don't see any scenario where Jackson starts 2 years?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that I don't see any scenario, but I have a hard, it's not about Jackson though. It's about, can Deuce sit for 2 years?
Yeah, I know.
And I have a harder time justifying that in my brain than like Jackson being a solid SEC quarterback, but not good enough to go pro, and then like keeping him. I think if they had to pick in that situation, I think they're going to pick Deuce. That's just my gut reaction.
Even if you win, like, let's just say 9 games and you feel, I mean, I know next year's schedule is going to be tough.
Are you okay losing Deuce?
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to lose Deuce.
I mean, you look at recent data. I mean, you are more likely to lose your 5-star to the portal than keep them.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was kind of close. It's not close anymore.
It's really not.
And so if you don't want to be part of that statistic, you have to do something about it.
Well, is that statistic necessarily a negative? Like all those ones have bad. Is it always a negative? Like, I mean, with all the access to quarterbacks nowadays, I don't know. I just don't think you can. I don't think you can like tank, not necessarily tank. I don't think you can rest. If you have a good starter, like let's just say Jackson goes out, has good stats, you win 9 games or 8, let's just say 8 games, and but you looked really good on offense and on defense. You just, whatever, a couple of things didn't go your way, and you're going into next year. I just don't see how you could just start over, like, and just be okay with just starting over. Let's look at a issue.
Let's look at a few examples that I think are similar to what we're talking about.
I'd love that.
One involves Jackson's former school, his former situation, where Dylan Gabriel comes in, a riser previously from UCF, right? And then he's the guy for a year, and they say, hey, like, it's time for Jackson, funny enough. And so they say, you got to find somewhere else. He goes to Oregon. It's a great fit. Another is Quinn Ewers, where they've got Arch behind him.
Yeah.
Now, is Arch a bigger name than Deuce? Yes, but there's still buzz, right? It's still a similar situation. And then, they overlap for a year. And the discussion for Quinn was, you can transfer, you can go to the draft.
They overlap for 2. Quinn was 2 years, I think. I think Arch was there for 2 seasons.
Yeah, I think you're right. So not ideally the same. but I don't think this is some crazy thing that we've never seen before.
I'm with you. I mean, it is hard to imagine Deuce sitting until his third year in playing. I just think I know, and I get where you're coming from, but it's just like, man,
I'd love to have them both. I just don't. I don't think that's likely. And I'm just thinking, if Auburn has to pick, which one are they more likely to pick? That's all I'm basing it on.
That's a good question. I mean, that's a really tough one. That's a tough spot to be in. Do I take Jackson for one more? And I honestly think the schedule will play a lot into this. I think when the schedule flips and we start playing LSU in Texas,
it's gonna get tougher.
Do we take Jackson when the schedule may get tougher and you may be a better football team but only win 8 or 9 games, or do you take Deuce and ride for that third year when it flips back in your in your favor? Golly,
that's interesting.
That's college football, man. This college football is what we're talking about right now.
1-year contracts. Everything's a 1-year contract. It's wild.
That is
wild. I do think there's a window, because there's the world where like Jackson's so good that he goes on anyway and he's going to the league. And then there's where he's not good and it's obvious. Anyway. It's like, okay, thanks for this. Appreciate it. Whatever. And then there is a window where it's like, he's awesome, but he's not like, the NFL's not dying for him to enter the draft.
Yeah.
And then that's the trickiest. And like, that might be the most likely spot where he lands, you know? Yeah. And I just, what a tough situation.
It gives me the hives just thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't let Deuce go, but on the flip side, you can't just throw away I don't want to say throw away, because who knows, Deuce could be fantastic, but just saying.
I don't know what you do.
Yeah,
it's tricky.
I don't know what you do either.
It's tricky. So I don't know. I think it's more likely than not, though, that they pick Deuce, but I have no clue. I don't know.
Very well could be.
All right, I want to go back to this poll that Staples has and what it says about Auburn's schedule. That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Can you imagine wagering anywhere other than with our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook?
Can't, won't.
No, don't even want to think about it.
Will not.
We're in the middle of the NBA playoffs. FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place a $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Doesn't matter if it's a parlay, if it's just money line, player prop. Doesn't matter. They have it all over at FanDuel. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. So going back to Staples' post-spring top 25, they have Auburn at 13. And when you look at Auburn's schedule, let's just see how many teams are on here that are on Auburn's schedule. Bama's at 7. Georgia's at 8. And unless I'm missing something, Kyle, that is it.
Yeah, you're right. It is without a doubt, these past 2 years, without a doubt, have been the most manageable schedules that Auburn's maybe ever had. I mean, not past 2 years. Past year for sure. Past year for sure.
Yeah, this upcoming season and then last season. Yeah, and we don't know how teams will develop this year, but it certainly seems on paper more manageable than it ever has been. What does this say? And this is just one man's opinion, who we both respect. No A&M or Oklahoma is a little surprising to me, especially when he weights quarterback so much seemingly. And everybody, I mean, you were high on Mateer as well going into the portal season. Just a little surprised. Oklahoma
lost so much though. Across the board. It's going to be tough for them, even with Mateer. Mateer is electric, but they lost so much. I mean, I'm going to be very disappointed, even though we got to go to Norman. If Auburn doesn't just out talent them this coming up season.
How many teams on Auburn's schedules Auburn have a better roster than?
Let me pull up the roster. Let me pull up the schedule really quick.
According to this, is it 10? Is it 10 of 12? Is it 9? I think
so.
9's my answer.
So this is strictly based off of nothing more than should they have more talent, not will they win the game. Okay,
talent, strictly
Talent
roster, not location, strictly roster.
Auburn versus Baylor, that's 1. Should
Auburn.
have a better roster.
Yes.
Ball State, that's 2. South Alabama, that's 3. I will say Oklahoma, that's 4. Texas A&M, I think it'll probably be maybe a wash. So let's just say Auburn doesn't have.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards A&M on that one.
A more talented roster there.
But it's close. Goodness, it's close.
Georgia, no.
Right.
Missouri, yes. Arkansas, yes.
Yes.
Kentucky, yes. Vanderbilt, yes. Mercer, yes. Alabama,
no.
I'm going to say no. So there's only, 3?
If you're counting A&M, 3. Yeah.
And I'm saying I'm counting A&M because I'm just saying I think it would be at best a wash. I think at best it's even. Georgia and Alabama, I feel like are the only 2 rosters where I'm like, that's a better roster than Auburn. Like
let's play Crazy Town for a second.
I mean, I'm getting close to there right now.
Yeah. Some people say our discussion last segment was Crazy Town. Let's stay in Crazy Town. Let's assume Andy Staples' top 25 is perfect, just for the sake of this conversation. Auburn could go 10-2, have no ranked wins. That would probably put them out of the SEC tournament, which means they would be in the CFP with no ranked wins in the SEC. If his poll is perfect.
Wow. The pathway's there too. I mean, if we're just going full on Crazy Town.
Yeah, let's just bug for a second.
But the problem is Hugh's got to actually show that having a better roster matters.
Right. Which is my biggest concern about this team. It's not the talent. It's not the roster. It's not every other coach. It's him. It's him in the play calling to me.
Play calling, execution, whatever you want to call it. He hasn't been able to get it done with better rosters a lot more times than not. I know you've had some big deficiencies in some places, but still, there's a lot of losses that you're just not. There's just no excuse for. So now you got to, even though you got the better roster, now you got to show that you can actually win with the better roster. And hey, I know what? I want to see a game. I guess Texas A&M may count last year. I want to see more of those games where we win some. Maybe we have no business winning. A&M's
definitely the closest for that.
Yeah. Let's get in that. Let's get in that conversation. I mean, they were a playoff team up until that loss. They were in the playoff conversation.
They were. They needed some help, but yeah, they were in it for sure. I mean, just talking about like playing teams that you have a better roster than. I know you were busy last week, and I watched every second of the NFL draft. And every time, it seemed like there were a lot of Cal players that got drafted on the defensive side of the ball, and it's like, here we go, here it is, and it's like, boom. It was highlights against Auburn. It's like, God, goodness gracious. Goodness gracious.
Hey, we'll help somebody's highlight reel in just a daggum heartbeat.
Yeah, there was one guy, Nome is a corner. I tweeted it out. Let me see if I can find it real quick. But they were like, he had seven picks, and like 3 of them were against Auburn. It's like, it's great. Here it was. Yeah, Noel Williams.
Yeah.
7 picks on the year, 3 of them against Auburn. It's like,
so they had four picks, and all of them were on defense. You're right.
Yeah. New England picked one of them, and he was the guy who recovered Jarquez's fumble. Then, like a round later, the guy who forced Jarquez's fumble got drafted. And of course, those are like the first things that they showed after they got taken. Like, goodness, like I want that game to go away.
I can't wait. I can't wait till we're like Auburn is. Yeah, it's the flip. It's the flip. Right. We're no longer the highlight. You know, we have our own highlight film.
Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be awesome.
Hopefully it's soon.
Yeah, it's like a Georgia guy gets drafted. It's like, oh, there's Peyton Thorne getting sacked or something. You know.
Ugh.
All right. How can people check out everything you've got going on? It's a lot.
Subscribe to thebarnauburn.com. Take $25 off your annual membership. Get in the chat. Get in the conversation. We got recruiting updates, team updates, portal, for basketball and football, and then you got some baseball coverage. Lindsey Crosby has some of the best baseball nuggets out there.
Incredible.
You can't beat it. You can't beat the info if you want to know the starting lineups a lot of times before they're going up or
pitching rotations.
Pitching rotations. He's the guy. So definitely check us out there, and then subscribe to the Barn Auburn YouTube page. New content dropping every single day.
Yes, please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.